Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1972. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in beautiful Sheffield. Sheffield, is that the right way to say it, Rachel?
Sheffield, you can say it however you want, but Sheffield, I guess, is the way we...
In Great Britain, back across the pond again. Seems like I've been in the UK many times these last couple months with a very special returning guest by the name of Rachael Clegg. Rachel, welcome to Cars Yeah. I should say welcome back to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I am indeed. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun. And fun to catch up with what you're up to because you have a whole new series of your spectacular art. Before I give you a proper introduction, though, what's one little thing that maybe most people don't know about you, Rachel?
Oh, my word. Oh, gosh. Actually, yeah, I would say I'm actually probably secretly quite introverted. When you do something that's quite out there, I think people always expect you to be an extrovert. And actually, I really, really love my own company. I tell you what, yeah, this is the thing. I have been away on my own to different countries, and I absolutely love being on my own. I love my own company. Yeah, and particularly in strange places, I just find it makes you feel so alive. Yeah, so that's probably, yeah.
There you go.
I'm actually a loner, basically.
Well, and you know, that is very interesting because listeners, as you learn more about Rachael today, and when you get to visually see, I'll put links to her website and see what she does, you'll go, what? I don't think so, but you'll learn more about that in a little bit. Let me give you a proper introduction, Rachael, and we're going to move into the fun that you're having here. For almost 10 years, artist Rachael Clegg has made motorsports the subject of her cult collectible photography. Her images, published as calendars and as collectible art prints, have celebrated some of motorsports' best and least known stories, specifically around the Isle of Man TT course and the infamous Nürburgring circuit in Germany. Her images illustrate events throughout the TT's 114-year history and the Nürburgring's 94-year history. Every single prop, every pose, and every location is specifically related to a historical event. This year's edition digs a bit deeper into the riders' and manufacturers' backstories, in addition to non-motorsport subjects, including space travel and satellites. All of this done with her witty, silly, and very evocative style. We'll be back in just a minute to learn more about what's up with Rachael, but first a word from our valued sponsors, so please give them a little love, and we'll be right back. I love Covercraft's new 5-layer all-climate cover. It was developed and engineered for anything Mother Nature can throw our way. It's very soft, breathable, and easy to store and pampers your paint and interior surfaces, providing maximum UV, rain, dust, and snow protection. Add their gust guards for windy conditions for extra protection. Their 5-layer all-climate cover is custom-tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form and fit with a quality and attention that's been their standard since 1965. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected by a Covercraft cover. And I have a deal for you. Use the code YEAH21 at covercraft.com and you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order plus free shipping. That's right, 10% off and free shipping. Just type in the word YEAH, Y-E-A-H, 21 at checkout, YEAH21 at covercraft.com. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. Most people don't think about their collector car insurance until their annual premium becomes due. Well, why wait and see if there are better options for your beloved rides? I didn't. Did you know if you change carriers before your policy runs out, your insurance company has to refund you the unearned portion of your policy premium? I did my homework, I shopped around, and I found American Collectors Insurance. And that's who protects my Porsche Turbo. That's right, the one I call my Orange Crush. They've been protecting collector vehicles since 1976. I encourage you to call my friends at American Collectors Insurance. Ask them about their agreed value policy. And if your collector vehicle is on your regular auto policy, you will be shocked at the savings, not to mention the assurance, should something bad happen to your ride, that you'll get what your vehicle is actually worth. Give them a call today for a quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of Mark Green at Cars Yeah, American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. Give them a call today. So, Rachel, we're back. Now, you were a past guest on Cars Yeah almost exactly 6 years ago. It was December of 2015. Here we are, December of 2021. Oh my, how a lot has changed. And, you've come a long way. You've done so many interesting things. I would love to talk a little bit first, though, about your past, because my understanding is that your father, Noel, was a successful Isle of Man TT racer. That race is insane. Every time I watch those videos, I almost can't watch. It's so scary to me. He was a contemporary of Joey Dunlop. Your grandfather, Tom, was a clubsman TT racer. So let's go back in time of this fascination you have in this family history, and then we'll kind of bring it forward to what you're up to today.
I was always around the motorcycle paddock. I think even when I was a baby, obviously I can't remember this, but when I was a baby, I was taken around Europe to all the GP circuits in a caravan and just sort of plonked in the corner while all mum and dad's racing friends were just like coming in and out of the caravan. And it was all lots of camaraderie. And that was with me my whole life pretty much. And then my dad also did the TT every year, and my grandparents lived there as well. The Isle of Man, it is really magical. I can't describe it, only to say it's a little bit like, it's very Lord of the Ringsy.
Yes.
And I think because I spent so much time there as a kid visiting my grandparents, and they have all these what they call glens on the Isle of Man, which are like these beautiful valleys that have waterfalls and they're really lush. And it's kind of almost like Fantasyland. And I think those memories are just so ingrained into my mind that I actually get goosebumps talking about the Isle of Man. It's so part of me. And obviously my dad was a racer, which was exciting but also terrifying, because obviously when your father is a really competitive rider, I mean, he was always, top 10. One year he beat Joey Dunlop, came fourth. So
wow.
And that's a complete privateer with no factory backing, no big sponsors. That's,
wow.
I always think I would love to have seen my dad's results if he was on a factory machine, with the full financial backing. Amazing rider. But obviously that comes with the horrible, I'll never forget being with my mum and seeing her go through the mill with the nerves but then again, because we were brought up with that, it wasn't a big deal. And because other riders who were family friends, their wives would sit with us, they had kids, it was kind of just normal in a weird way. So
wow. It's hard to think of the Isle of Man is normal. And for you listeners out there that I would assume most Cars Yeah listeners know what Isle of Man TT race is. But if you don't, just go to YouTube, type in Isle of Man TT, your jaw will drop open, because these are guys riding motorcycles basically through towns and countrysides where the margin for error is so bloody thin that it's mind-boggling, right?
I think it's probably worth reminding, I'm sure all your listeners know already, but just in case they don't, it's on a public road.
Yes.
So it has bus stops, it has benches.
Curbs, telephone poles.
Telephone, everything, you name it. And if they're going to Google a video, do watch them going down Bray Hill, Bray Hill. When you stand there, even to this day, I've been all my life, years and years, I still get this sensation of just like, whoo, all over my body.
Yeah.
So, Google Bray Hill.
It's incredible. Now, also, your uncle owned and ran Manx Leathers, right?
Yes.
That many of the riders wore.
Yeah, that was a really, in the 70s, the Dunlops wore Manx Leathers. It was sort of like the brand that a lot of the top riders wore. And it was also before the Japanese, like Dainese, really took over and Kushitani. It was just when you still had British brands, that were widely worn and used by people. So, he's made suits for everybody.
Yeah, what a history that you have there. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me. Let's dive into what you're doing, because as I mentioned in the intro for Rachel, she does these photographs. You're the model in the photographs, right?
Yep.
They're very provocative, right? Typically, now I'm going to get some ears perking up here. You don't have any clothes on.
No. I mean, it takes the problem away of deciding what to wear.
No kidding. Well, now that we've got the listeners' real attention, the thing that really stands out for me, and having had an artistic background, you are rather statuesque, I will say. You remind me of the statues, Romanesque and so forth, that many times in your photographs, you look like a statue almost.
Oh, right. Well, that's interesting.
That's my perception of it.
That's really interesting because when I design the shots and I think about the poses, I've always gone for that Greco-Roman Olympian thing because
you've done it.
I don't want them to be sexy. I know I've got no clothes on, but I don't want them to look in any way. It's not erotic. I just love the female form, and I deliberately went for an athletic kind of that Olympian look because to me it's clear of being near the erotic side of things. In my opinion. And that's why it's really well observed that actually, because I try really hard to go for that.
Well, you pulled it off. And I'll tell you something. When I had you on the show 6 years ago, I was looking at some imagery that you sent. And of course, my wife walks in right at that moment and she's like, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "Well, this is a lady I'm going to have on my show." And she goes, "Yeah, right." And I go, "No, really? Look at what she's doing." And she looked and she went, "Oh my." She goes, I first looked and went, "Why is that lady naked on a racetrack?" And then we started looking through your imagery. Very artistic, but what is more interesting than the fact that you don't have clothes on, to me, is the settings and the history. And you've knocked it up a bunch of levels with this new series of imagery for 2022. You've brought history into the story, and these are telling stories. They're not just images of a woman. There's history behind it. So if you could share maybe, let's pick one or two images that you're really, it's hard to pick which ones you like the best, but maybe ones that stand out for you, that this historical background really stands out, and kind of walk us through it.
Well, because of COVID, it was difficult getting over to the Isle of Man with the photographer and helpers because of the isolation, and it was just too complicated. So we decided to do it a bit different, and we took TT stories, so it's still based on the TT's history, but wound it right back to the manufacturers, the riders. So, for example, one of the images is shot at the last remaining part of the BSA factory. So obviously, I never knew this until recently, but BSA once were the biggest motorcycle manufacturer on the planet. 1 in 4 motorcycles in the 50s and 60s was a BSA. 1 in 4 globally. 1 in 4.
Wow, I didn't know that. 4. Wow.
And the factory of Smallheath, I would love to go back in time and see it. It was huge, but the only bit that remains still has BSA on it. And it's now owned by a gun company, which is still BSA Guns. So they opened up and let us shoot there, which was amazing. And it felt really special being there, actually. I'm a real history buff, really sadly so. Yeah, it was great. And they lent me one of the very first rifles that BSA ever made, because BSA started making guns. It was called Birmingham Small Arms. That's what BSA comes from. So that was a really cool shot. And by sheer luck, pure serendipity, when the calendar was launched, I was invited to the BSA launch. So BSA now, as the motorcycles, has been bought out by an Indian company called Mahindra, and they've just relaunched the Gold Star, one of the most famous BSA bikes. Now, the front cover of the calendar is me perched on a massive gold star with a gun, by sheer coincidence. So the timing is perfect. But so that image is really special to me. And then, again, being a real saddo, I also did a shoot at Fort Dunlop, so Dunlop Tyres, which I think is now owned by Goodyear. I hope that's right. They had this massive factory in the UK. You can see it from the biggest motorway in the UK, and all the tyres, the very first motorcycle race tyres are made there. And the National Motorcycle Museum lent me the very first Norton that won the very first TT in 1907 to be in the shop. It was amazing. So they let me borrow the bike. My dad's obviously really experienced with motorcycles, handling them. So my dad was with me and he handled the priceless 1907 Norton Twin. But to have that in a shot, now that is TT history gold. I mean, the very first bike that won the very first race on the very first Dunlop racing tyres that were ever produced. That was a special shot.
You know, what you've done here is really, really cool. And that's why I wanted to make sure the listeners understood the history and the stories that go in the back end of these images are really fascinating to me. And you've just every year you've notched it up, because since you were first on the show, I've followed you. I'll say that we've become kind of friends here, and the fact that I see, all right, this is really cool what she's doing. But this year, since it was so different, that's why I wanted to have you come back, and now learning those more intricate details about some of those images. And you've done one for every month, so people can buy either a calendar or you sell individual prints too, right?
Yeah, I do prints, and I do these. They've just arrived. I'm really, again, sad, really excited. I've got these new branded beautiful boxes. So it's called the sort of 12-inch collection. So they're all the size of a record. And people can have a set of 3. And so I've just launched that as well. So people can have the prints as well. Just a sad, geeky additional fact to the Norton Dunlop story. Joe Boyd Dunlop he was a vet, actually, an Irish vet, and he developed the pneumatic tyre from playing around with his son's tricycle. So on the shop, I'm actually on a really old tricycle, like a vintage tricycle. So anyway, that's just another geeky.
No, that's cool, because I went through those images and I went, okay, the tricycle, what does that have to do with?
That's why there's a tricycle in there.
Very cool. Well, I love the way you've wrapped all of this into these beautiful images and the history and the fact that your family goes back so far. I mean, all these things line up now in understanding what you're doing and the fun that you're having. I think it's really, really, really fun. I'd like to ask you about, actually, let's do this. So let's take a short break and thank our sponsors. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the challenges that trying to put these shoots together create, because you don't really make it easy, do you?
No.
No, not at all. All right, we'll keep that thought and we'll be right back. Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. Did you know that Cars Yeah is in the top 1% of all podcasts based on listenership, according to Libsyn, the premier RSS feed for podcasts in the United States? That's right. And Cars Yeah is the only 5-day-a-week automotive-focused podcast for you to get your message into the ears of thousands of listeners daily from all over the world. Plus, DuPont Registry recommended Cars Yeah is one of their top 10 car podcasts for you to enjoy. Cars Yeah has experienced tremendous growth, plus your ads are evergreen, meaning they never go away. And more listeners find Cars Yeah every day for their daily dose of automotive inspiration. Do you want to expose your brand to a highly targeted list of automotive enthusiasts in a very unique and very personal way? Well, I can help you. Contact me, Mark Green, at mark@carsyeah.com or through the website at carsyeah.com today to learn more. So let's talk about this, Rachel. The intricacies and the details, you touched on a couple there, getting this one-of-a-kind motorcycle. I mean, the star, the first rifle made. I mean, all these things that you have to pull together. I would imagine there's some challenges that come with putting these shoots together and doing these things. So can you touch on a little bit of what some of those might be and how you've overcome them is the most important part?
Well, like the stupid things like the star, for example. I knew it had to be 3D, so we made it out of MDF, big chunky 3D star made out of MDF wood. And I knew it had to be gold. Even though the pictures are black and white, it needed to shine like gold. So I bought absolutely loads of gold spray. And I have to confess, I'm a bit of a last minute person. So the night before the BSA location was booked and arranged, which took quite a bit of doing with the company and the boss and opening the gates for us. And the night before, we sprayed the star and thought, right, okay, that's great. We've finished in time. Fantastic. We'll get it in the morning. It'll be dry. It'll be gold. And it just didn't. It was awful. It was just wood coloured. So I had to...
so the wood sucked up all the paint?
It just sucked up all the gold, and it looked like a horrible star-shaped coffin. And then... So I had to phone the guy, apologise profusely. Luckily, he was the nicest man ever. BSA Guns Limited, the nicest people ever. And I had to rush out and buy loads of gold leaf. I don't know if you've ever...
Gold leaf?
Not gold leaf. It's not like gold leaf, but it's like gold leaf paper.
Paper.
So it's still... Okay. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
It's not, obviously not quite gold leaf.
Okay. I was going, wow.
Like, it's so fine that when you have to like pick it out and put it on glue, but it shatters in the air. It is so delicate. So anyway, trying to do that in a rush while you're trying to get to Birmingham anyway, we did it in the end. And then with the Dunlop shoot, that took quite a lot of organising with the company because they had to make lots of clearances and stuff. So there's that side of it where there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, all very contractual. And then there's the whole, how do you get a world-class priceless motorcycle safely delivered across Birmingham in the right vehicle, with the right supports, with the right straps, unloading it. And then you got the insurances, and it's all, there's lots of layers and layers of organising that probably people don't imagine takes place.
Yeah. Photo shoots. I worked in the advertising industry and then a lot of marketing in a company I ran for years. And you take these, like we had catalog covers that we would shoot where we would bring in a very special automobile, in some cases multi-million-dollar vehicles, and we would set up all these lights around them and product placement and all of this. And people that would come and want to watch the shoot, I would say, photo shoots are kind of like war. There's a long period of boredom with short bursts of excitement.
Yes, I completely agree.
They would sit there and everyone would say the same thing. They'd go, I had no idea how much work went into this one. I just thought you just parked the car there and put a bottle and took a picture with your iPhone. And it doesn't work that way. And you would see these multi-million-dollar cars with all these light umbrellas and light stands and things around them. We'd have to secure them to make sure they don't fall in the car. And, heaven forbid you damage somebody's car, especially if they're sitting there right in front of you. Most people had no idea, but as you've learned as an artist, when you see great photography versus most of the photography we see these days, which are shot on phones, there's a massive difference in the light, the subject matter, the placement, the way it's done. So let me ask you this. When you take a look at, let's say that shot with the infamous gold star, aside from all the effort to just get to location to shoot, how long did it take to shoot that shot?
It probably takes half a day. And that was an easy one because it was one prop. And it was very simple, actually. That we just had the background, the prop, and the gun, the rifle, the antique rifle. But it takes half a day. I'm saying it takes half a day. We've got to get there. We've got to unload. So it's actually a day. It's half a day for me posing, but it's probably a day in terms of the whole thing. And that's for one image. So that's a trouble. Well, it's a trouble, and I like location shoots, but it is that kind of. It's a really time and money costly thing to do, isn't it? Because you're not just going bang 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 in a studio. And then you're at the mercy of the British weather, which is obviously really unpredictable. And it was in November, so it wasn't the warmest.
Ooh, cold.
But, but the weird thing is, I'm a really cold person. Like I have the coldest blood in the world. But when I think it's the adrenaline of wanting to get that shot, because I don't feel it when I'm doing it. All I'm thinking about is positions, angles, what the camera can see, and I don't even feel the cold. It's really weird.
Do you work with the same photographer all the time?
Yeah, I've had, there's two that I've worked with. One, Peter Greste, he took the very first pictures, but then he was really interesting, a wonderful man, super intelligent. He was a foreign correspondent for the BBC. And when he took the very first photos, he was going through a lot of changes in his personal life and his working life. So he had this time, but then he was recruited by Al Jazeera to be a foreign correspondent. So he went back to work for Al Jazeera, and I would have liked to think that we would have carried on working together, but he was arrested in Cairo because the owners of Al Jazeera were implicated with the Muslim Brotherhood. I think it's called the Muslim Brotherhood. Anyway, it was nothing to do with him, but for whatever reason, he was arrested for a year and imprisoned in Cairo.
Oh my gosh.
And he is Australian. The Australian Prime Minister helped get him released.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So obviously, being in prison is a bit of an obstacle to doing a calendar.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, and I'm really pleased to say he has a glittering career. He does talks, he's written all sorts, and I think he's now a professor in Australia.
Wow.
Amazing journalist, amazing man. So, but sometimes as one door closes, another one opens, and Ian came along, who was a friend of a friend of a friend, and Ian is absolutely brilliant. He is one of those people who he takes a puff of his cigarette or his vapor. Anything you can say, Ian, I really want to get an elephant on the Nürburgring. And he won't be flustered. He'll just say, all right then, Rach, all right, let's have a think about this. And it's just brilliant. You can say, Ian, we're going to go on a roof where I'm going to take a tiger up there. And he takes a puff. That shouldn't be a problem. He's absolutely brilliant. And we have such a good time together. And we've been to the Nürburgring. We've been all over together and had a ball. I finally found an elephant, a real elephant,
Okay.
to get on the Nürburgring. And I was so excited. Really wanted an elephant on the Nürburgring because the first car that won the very first race was known as the White Elephant. And I found the local circus, Cologne Circus. They would have brought one for me, but they wanted 10,000 euros.
Oh, ouch.
And I just didn't have 10,000 euros.
Expensive. Elephants are expensive to rent, that's for sure.
Yeah, I do know that. Now, if I won the lottery, I'd be back there like a shot.
Well, maybe one day we'll see that. That would be something for sure. So let's talk about bucket list things, where you see the future. And we don't want to look too far out because, boy, after we've been through the last 2 years,
I know. Yeah.
You never know what the future is going to do to you. However, you did some unique things over the time since you were last on the show with some sound wave stuff, if I remember right. You kind of ventured into some other areas.
Yeah, and I really want to develop that, and I've had a few requests. It's because I paint as well, and I got really interested in the forms, the way that sound waves actually look. I think they're quite beautiful, and I really like information. I like things that give you information, and I like the fact that when you look at a sound wave, for example, a recording of, say, again, very geeky, if you look at the sound wave of Mike Hailwood going around a section of the TT course, you can actually see, you can kind of tell what section he's at if you know the course, because you can see that the waveform changes as the revs go up, and you can see where he's changed gear. So I started sort of interpreting those, translating them into oil paintings. And they've gone down really well. It's just something that I think now the calendar's out of the way. I'm doing a book next. So after Christmas, I start a book, and that'll be like a kind of a TT catalogue. And it will be the first of catalogues about lots of different subjects where the photographs are kind of a historical. It's like, do you have Ladybird books in America?
Ladybird, I'm not sure.
It's a British thing. Okay. There's like these kids' book called Ladybird books.
Okay.
And they're kind of like they say it's like the Ladybird book of animals or the Ladybird book of farmyard animals. And they have like the information and a picture. But I want to create the Ladybird book series for adults. So it's like art nude photography, but with the information, but more obviously in depth. And anyway, so the first catalogue comes out around spring. So there's that. But once that's out of the way, I'm going to probably go back to doing more of these sound wave paintings. They're called sound stories, actually. Yeah. But yeah.
I love it. Well,
sorry, I just went around a massive
that's okay.
Wiggly loop.
Well, a wiggly loop. I love that. More creativity coming out of Rachael Clegg. Where do people find out about you? Your website, I assume?
Yep, it's www.Rachael, and that's Rachel with an A, so it's RACHAEL Clegg.com.
Okay, CLEGG, 2 G's,
yep.
Right? Yep.
GG. Yeah.
GG. There you go. We'll make sure I put links to that on Rachel's show notes page. Is there a special vehicle in your past, Rachael, that really stands out? Maybe a bike?
Oh, yeah. You know what I'd love to buy, but I can't afford the petrol.
Yeah, it's gotten expensive.
The Ford F-250 is circa 1985 Highboy.
Oh, interesting.
They make me melt, honestly. I actually, here's the secret thing. This answers the very first question. I actually look at pictures on Google Images just of the F-250 in my downtime.
Really?
And it kind of, there's no sexual arousement. I must add that. It's not, I wouldn't take it that far.
It's not on.
I just think it is the most amazing vehicle ever. And I would, if I could afford the gas, I would drive one every single day.
That is very interesting.
But it's got to be 1985.
1985.
Or 86, when there were nice, clean, straight lines.
Yeah, I get it. You know, us listeners here at Cars Yeah, we get it. What cars kind of tickle our fancy, I should say.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Gets us excited. Yeah, everything's different. But boy, that's an interesting one for you, because for an artist who's about form and creativity and function, the Ford F-250 is this utilitarian beast, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
Yeah, very interesting here.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, okay. I like it. Well, that's a great segue to this next question, which crawls into your skull. I don't believe I asked you this last time you were on the show. If you were manifest as a vehicle, now this isn't what you want to be, Rachael. This is how you perceive the woman in the mirror, who you are internally. What kind of vehicle would Rachael be, but more importantly, why?
I think it would be a Ford F-250.
Are we back to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like an oil painting, but I think I am quite gritty, and I really love chatting to people. I love having everyday conversations with people in the supermarket, in the shop. I'm also very, very retro. I'm obsessed with nostalgia. I'm obsessed with history. So it's got to be an old vehicle, which it now is, isn't it? 85, I guess.
I guess it is.
Yeah, and it's kind of gritty. It's a bit messy because I'm probably not very organised. Not very efficient, which I've never been efficient in my entire life. So yeah, probably the F-250.
Now, if we were to, let's take this a little further, since you are a creative lady, what color?
Brown.
Oh gosh.
I know. I love brown. I know it's really sad, but
brown.
Yeah, I wear brown clothes a lot. And I don't know, I love brown F-250s. Or maybe if I was pushing the boat out, I think they do this. I've seen one of them in like a nice baby blue.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's either blue or brown.
Blue or baby blue. Okay. Baby blue or brown. Very interesting. Well, that's why that question brings out the interesting side to many, many people. Is there a great book you'd like to share with our listeners that you've enjoyed reading?
Oh, yeah, let me show you.
You have a few books here. Yeah, quite a few books.
Yeah. Am I okay to grab it?
Oh, sure. Take your time.
Okay, this is another thing. I collect really obscure old books.
Okay.
Ones that are really funny. I found this in a charity shop, and it's called How to Avoid Matrimony. And it's written by a bachelor in the 60s. And he has this chart at the front. And he goes through the different ages of like relative like single life to how old a man is. So it says here, the age 20 to 30, extreme pressure from society to get married, and if sycophantic, in grave danger of doing so. And then there's one where he says, age 50 to 75, begins to fret for someone to darn socks, dangerous. So
how funny.
I love that book.
Who is the author of that book?
Harold Frey, I think. Yeah, Harold Froy.
Froy. How do you spell his last name?
It's Harold Froy. Herald, and then Froy.
Harold Froy.
He was a playboy.
Yep.
He was written in the 50s, 60s. I bet he had an amazing car collection. I bet he went racing. It's like that era of kind of just the kind of guy you want to go for a drink with.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Not marry. You wouldn't want to marry.
No, probably not. It probably wouldn't last. That's for sure. Yeah, Harold's not very devoted to long-term relationships. That's obvious. It's a pretty thick book too. So, well, I have a feeling you're going to have to find that on eBay or the used bookstore somewhere out there.
Yeah.
Very interesting and a fun read. So before I let you go today, we're going to go on the ultimate drive. Unlimited checkbook here at Cars Yeah. Got as much money as you'd like to spend. You get to pick any vehicle in the world to be in. You get to pick anybody to be with. This could be somebody living or deceased, and you get to be going anywhere. So what does the ultimate drive look like for Rachael Clegg?
Well, mildly obsessed with Mike Hailwood.
Mike Hailwood.
I think he was like super. I've written and read a lot about him. So in a weird way, I feel somehow like I sort of know Mike Hailwood, even though he died when I was born. I'd quite like to go on a fun road trip with Mike Hailwood, and apparently he loved rock and roll, so he'd blast his music out when he was driving his Citroen. And I don't know, I think I'd either like to sort of drive through Italy with him around some of the lovely sort of coastal roads in Italy. Yeah. And I know this is cliched, but I've never been to California, and I would love to go down. What is it?
Pacific Coast Highway 1.
I would love to do that. So, and I think Hailwood would be quite a good driving buddy. If we can go with dead people,
of course,
he'd be the one.
Yeah, I'll bring him back to life for you. We don't want him to be dead while you're on the trip. That wouldn't be any fun. But I get the point here. What kind of car would you like to be in? Now, you get to pick any car in the world. If you say an F-250 truck, I'm going to be a little disappointed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. We'll avoid the F-250.
Yeah, any vehicle in the world. Could be something fun. I mean, Mike's got to be sports car.
Probably a Buick Riviera, 1967.
Okay. I love it. I could see that. That would be a fun ride. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
That's another thing that's happened in the last few weeks. A lot of guests have said, and they've been guests from the UK, Highway 1, down the Coast Highway. I can tell you, since I've done it many times with my son one time in a Porsche 550 Spider, all the way from Long Beach all the way up to Gig Harbor, 1,500 miles up the coast. I've done that. I've done it on my bicycle. It is a beautiful drive. There's lots to see. You want to definitely take some time there with Mike if you leave Italy and come over here with him in that Buick Riviera. So that sounds. I don't think it'd be a romantic trip because he was a womanizer. So I'd leave him to do his womanizing. There you go.
I just think as a road buddy.
Yeah,
I think
just a friend, a pal.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Sounds great. You have taken us on another wonderful journey here today, Rachel. This has been so much fun to catch up with you. I'll make sure I put links so that all you listeners can go check out what Rachel's doing. Hopefully, you buy yourself something, buy some gifts for friends. This would be a great gift for car buddies or bike buddies, men or women who like history. They like to learn about history. You'll believe, like I believe, that Rachel does something here that is very unique, a bit provocative, but very, very cool in many, many ways. And I love this history and how you pulled all this together. So much fun to have you back. You're welcome. Before I let you go, though, could you leave us with a success quote, a mantra, some kind of word of inspiration, perhaps?
Yeah, I wrote this down when I was about 10 years old, and I remember writing it. If everyone was a little dafter, the world would be a better place.
I like it.
I don't know if you do use the word daft in the US.
Not a whole lot here, but I think we know what it means. But why don't you tell our listeners in the US here what daft means to you?
Daft is kind of like a bit silly, kind of just a bit fun, and maybe just lighten up,
Lighten up.
Like when you open yourself to silliness and just seeing the funny side of things, you can get through a lot of difficult situations, I think. And I think, that's the mantra, I think.
After the last
just to have a laugh.
The last 2 years we've been through, we need some more daftness in our lives. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Very
definitely.
cool. Well, listeners, again, you can find Rachel at Rachael, Rachael Clegg, Clegg.com. You can see everything that we're talking about here today. I think you'll have a lot of fun with this. Rachel, so good to catch up with you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. This has been absolutely wonderful. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you know that less than 3% of all automotive technicians in the United States are women? You may not be surprised, but you should be concerned because our country is facing a massive technician shortage right now. Skilled, qualified techs are in high demand, and we need young women and men to consider these careers as a viable path to a fulfilling life. I've interviewed hundreds of women in the automotive sector here on Cars Yeah, and I know that women make great techs. That's why I support the nonprofit Tech Force Foundation and its Women Techs Rock initiative to ensure women see themselves in the profession, the industry, and the workforce. Learn more at techforce.org today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.